Good evening and welcome to the program. This is the Limelight. My name is Prince Apollo, and this evening we look at issues of diplomacy relating to two incidents involving top diplomats. One in Canada and another one in United Arab Emirates. And these two incidents point to issues relating to misconduct, especially Ambassador Joy Ruth Cheng, who was declared persona non grata over her conduct in Canada. And of course, the head of consulate in Dubai, Ambassador Mayiga Henry, who was also implicated and accused of turning a Ugandan consulate in Dubai into a casino. Now we look at the implications of these two incidents relating to the image of the country abroad and other issues. And on the program, I've been joined by Yusuf Serunkuma. And Serunkuma is a researcher, a playwright, and one of those Ugandans who are really concerned about this matter. Welcome to the program, and quickly let's go straight to our issue. Do you think these two incidents should be of concern to Ugandans?
Absolutely. I mean, these are issues of our diplomatic stature and standing as a country. They should concern Ugandans. Perhaps you can only say they don't surprise us, because we've had a trend where there's absolute embarrassment by our diplomats and public officials that we normally send out to represent us as a country. So yes, 100%, we should be concerned as Ugandans when our diplomats not only embarrass themselves but also embarrass the country, but also when they go outside of their mandate, but the work they're supposed to be doing for the country. Because as you said, the first time I saw the story that our embassy in Dubai had been turned into a casino, it didn't sound true. Ngugi wa Thiong'o said sometimes the reality could be stranger than fiction.
You couldn't believe it.
It sounded made up. You can't imagine how did the embassy become a casino. Then as more facts became known to the public, you realize actually this man had turned the embassy into a casino. And it's not just embarrassing, but also it speaks to the mandate. What is it doing? And this is in Dubai, one of those places where we're often sending our girls to work. So that actually speaks to the complications the slaves we sent to the Middle East go through. But when you realize that even our embassy is many times unwilling to help the slaves,
you call them slaves.
Well, I don't think they go out because it's not. They're not experts. Immigrants. They're not experts. They're not also immigrants because they're not seeking to immigrate. They are workers. Workers taken out of the country with very limited skills, manual labor. So they're not experts. They would prefer to stay in the country, but they are forced out of the country. But that's another issue altogether. So we stick to. But when you think about the plight of labor we export to the Middle East, and the stories we often hear that our embassy is unable, our embassies are unable to help these
and monitor
laborers.
their welfare.
And then you realize that, even the embassy is non-existent. It actually became a casino. And then it speaks to sort of a complicated dilemma, like a box filled with many complications. So it explains why these embassies are unable to even do the job that they're supposed to do for Ugandans, right? So the concern is at many layers, right? So there's public embarrassment, diplomatic embarrassment, but also the work they're supposed to do. So they're actually not doing it. Yet we expect them to be doing this work, but they are unable to do it.
So it speaks again to what they do, what their mandate is all about. And it raises questions on whether they actually fulfill their mandate.
They are unable to execute their responsibilities. you know, the story of heckling in Canada, where the diplomat showed up dressed in yellow, and she was heckling. Much more could have happened than the public is able to discern, but it complicates the entire matrix of work and responsibility. That, you know, you go there as a diplomat, which means you're representing the entirety of Uganda in all their different shades and colors, and then you choose to pursue, you know, local
protesters on streets of.
But you know, remember, you're there as a diplomat for Uganda, which means you don't carry your local politics into diplomatic space. You're representing all Ugandans in whichever form they appear, right? And then you instead decide to, you know, to play local politics in a diplomatic space. I think it's embarrassing to that degree. You know, I appreciate the fact that you're appointed by a guy who belongs to the NRM and you proudly belong to this party, and it looks good on you as a diplomat from the NRM that you actually continue doing Museveni's bidding. It looks good on you. But the entire idea of a diplomatic mandate is bigger than local politics, right?
Does that also speak to whether they understand what is required of them?
I have no idea what is really happening with foreign affairs recently, but I know back in the days before deployment, there were layers and layers of training. Uganda Management Institute didn't start as a unit offering courses to outside individuals. It was actually part of the entire training of public servants. So diplomats spent a minimum of 6 months being trained before they went abroad. So, and then there were internships, there were placements. So you'd be placed at a mission, say New York, or maybe New Delhi, or in London, you know, so that you're monitored, so that you grow through the ranks of diplomacy, because it's a special field, because you're carrying the shoulders of the entire country. Rather, you're carrying the weight of the entire country on your shoulders. So it was a very specialized space and requiring special growth as a diplomat. So people rose through these ranks. I'm not sure it happens anymore, right? That even at the top, if you had a political appointment, they had caretakers who really prepped them for the job, who are career diplomats, who knew the ins and outs of this job. Right now, you have all the way, I really think through the ranks, you still have political appointees. So you have political appointment number 1, political appointment number 2, number 3, number 4. In all the layers, like there's absolute ignorance through the layers. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Right, and that we are seeing an explosion of these embarrassments. There's a big story. It means the trainings don't happen anymore as they used to be. You know, that's my easy guess. It's difficult for me to say, and I think we'll need people from Foreign Affairs to really clarify if these trainings are still happening. Right, because right now what we see, we have political appointments embarrassing themselves on the international stage without us really knowing, you know, how they got into those positions.
Now, with these incidents happening, what could be at stake?
I mean, plenty of stuff is at stake. Plenty of stuff. You know, the lives of Ugandans living abroad is at stake. You know, that's why you have a diplomatic mission. That, that in the event of anything,
is there for them.
In the event of anything, that you have a country where your interests are represented, because the idea of a country is to protect the national interests of its people. So if you go abroad to work in the Middle East or to work in Canada, the place which is there rooting for you is the embassy. That's your first home. You know, when my experience with many Ugandans, because we know the dysfunction in our embassies, my experience is that people don't care to know where the embassies are, right? But if you look at, on the other hand, if foreigners are coming to our other countries, they take the pains to know where their diplomatic missions are located, so that in the case of anything, they can run to them. Now, it's the exact opposite for us, that we don't visit them, but also it's because we don't trust that they will do the job. You remember not too long ago, Kakwenza Rukirwashaija went to the diplomatic embassy in Berlin to get his passport renewed. And in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, we had that there've been changes in the ways in which you get your passport back. If you lose it, you have to travel to Kampala.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell us, how do you travel to Kampala without a passport? But then they said, for you to get your passport renewed or to get a replacement, you have to travel all the way to Kampala without telling us how you get to Kampala. Which means they rendered...
That's a big question.
In that context, they rendered the embassy useless. You see, because our embassies are playing politics, they rendered it useless in that context. Because you need it in moments like that. You are an expert working in Canada, and you lose, by some misfortune, you lose your passport.
You should be running to the embassy.
You go to the embassy. But the embassy said, you have to travel back to Uganda. But think about it, if your time is still running, you still have a job to do, and you have to foot a humongous bill to travel to Uganda and then go back. It doesn't make sense, so the embassy becomes useless. So if you ask me what is at stake, many things at stake, right? I mean, complications like that, you can't really get your passport renewed. It's not just that, then you have the ambassador declared persona non grata, deported. It's very embarrassing. Those countries are very racist. If the diplomatic mission is portrayed in such absolute embarrassment, it is reflected. It's reflected onto Ugandans. So you get to see Ugandans in the light of their embassy, right? So if you find a normal Ugandan walking on the street, and they say, "Oh, you're Ugandan," like, you're the useless people. You have no manners. You're uncoordinated. Oh, we know the incident about your embassy, right? How did your government send such a person? So many things are at stake. And
so it cuts deep into the image.
A part of it is the treatment of local Ugandans now after such a diplomatic embarrassment. Because the embassy reflects on you, especially that it became a big story, right? So plenty of stuff is at stake in this context.
What at this point, with all this diplomatic embarrassment, what can be done?
Well, that's an existential question. I don't know what to say. What can be done, right? What can be done? But I need to say this: there's absolute disrespect for knowledge and understanding in this government, right? There's absolute disrespect for knowledge, for expertise, for career growth.
Yes.
You see, you can just look at our deployments in public service, right? Look at the ICT ministry. We have an ICT ministry, proudly called the ICT ministry. The guy who's at the top
is a medical doctor.
We have a psychologist running UNRWA. What is a psychologist doing in UNRWA? What is she doing there?
You call it disrespect for?
Disrespect for expertise and understanding. Mayor Lukwago has often told us that we need to develop Kampala according to a master plan. We had consultants as a country. We had consultants to give us a master plan to follow in developing Kampala. It has never been followed. Jennifer Msisi worked on Jinja Road 3 times without following the master plan. Right, so there's absolute disrespect for expertise and knowledge and understanding. And that dilemma is at the crux of our existence as a country, right? I'm from Makerere. When you come to Makerere, the head of the appointments board, right, is simply a son-in-law of Yoweri Museveni, a lawyer. He never held a position as a professor, doesn't have a PhD, he's in charge of PhDs and professors. The chairperson of the University Commission is the head of an academy. Right, and they are in charge of the careers and growth of PhDs and professors. Do you see? So there's absolute disrespect of expertise. Nyombi Tembo. Nyombi Tembo.
Director for UCC.
Yeah. He can't even write a tweet.
I saw him.
He can't even tweet. But he's in charge of the Communications Commission. Zero understanding of the terrain, right? I should tell you a story. On this, Matia Saija, the Minister of Finance, told us a story about cryptocurrency. He's the Minister of Finance. And he said he was talking to Emmanuel Tumsime Mutebile before he passed. And he said, "Governor, how much of cryptocurrency do you know?" And the governor said, "I don't know." And so the governor and the minister,
they both do not know.
They are ignorant about cryptocurrency. And now this is the trend, this is the vibe.
So in simple terms, we have wrong people in office.
But that's the nature of the system. It's not by accident. That's the nature of the system. Museveni gives this position to reward political loyalty, not expertise. Not expertise, political loyalty. And the danger of that is Chitezi. The danger of that is Masaka Road often collapsing. Every time many vehicles are plying it to Western Uganda, it collapses. That's the danger of rewarding political loyalty in a country where you're looking for expertise, right? Where things have to be intelligently run, and they have to work seamlessly. So the danger has actual effects. Chitezi is a crisis of rewarding loyalty. The collapses, the damages of our roads is the crisis of rewarding loyalty. Well, when you look at our banking system, the crisis of rewarding loyalty, we don't have a governor now. You know, you may think
a substantive governor. Yeah, we have an acting.
Would you think? Why don't you have a substantive governor? Macquarie doesn't have a chancellor. Why is that? There's a man in this country who was very, very knowledgeable. His name is Professor Ezra Sruma.
Yeah.
Right. He was fired twice from bringing his expert as an economist to running our economy. He was fired twice. You remember the sale of Uganda Commercial Bank? He had turned it around, had become profitable. Museveni fired him. He was made Minister of Finance. They fired him again. Because he brought his expertise to running this economy. So what you're witnessing is a crisis of disrespect for expert-driven knowledge, for intelligent-driven knowledge. When you hear all these Museveni hangers on and MK wannabes say, oh, you know, papers don't matter. But they write in English, they went to school, papers matter in a civilized society. We shouldn't be run by the worst of us. We should be run by the best of us. And as far as we're concerned at the present, is that the major yardstick for excellence is education. The major yardstick for the rigor of sitting down and answering complex terms of the law and the way things work is education, right? So at that moment when we started rewarding political loyalty, we lost the game. This is why you realize, Monta did a story today, that 42% of Ugandans want to leave this country. And this is the richest country on earth. Why do you think 40% of people want to leave? Because the thing is poorly governed, is poorly run on political loyalty, not expertise.
We are running out of time. You are cutting short. Possibly speak. I don't know if you can speak to the appointing authority, because in this case, he is the HE.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not because Museveni doesn't know the crisis. It's not because he doesn't know. It's because this is the way he designed the system.
Okay.
Because he's not. Yoweri Museveni is not a president in the ordinary sense. Yoweri Museveni is what you might call a colonial caretaker. He's caretaking the country on behalf of others. Now, the others are people who exploit this country, right? They exploit our banking, our telecom, our minerals, our agriculture, our everything is exploited. Now, to exploit that, you don't have to reward expertise, you reward political loyalty. And we are trapped in this endless loop of political loyalty. So Museveni doesn't know that you need experts. He's absolutely aware that you need experts.
But we have experts.
But he's a victim himself. He's a man in chains.
Our time is up. Thank you so much, Yusuf Selunkuma. And Yusuf Selunkuma is a researcher. He's also a playwright. And
I write a column with the Observer newspaper.
You are a columnist with the Observer newspaper. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, our viewers. It's been all about diplomatic embarrassment. That's what Selunkuma called it, and we hope things will turn around for the better. I don't know who is going to Canada this time around, but anyway, we'll be waiting to see what whether what we've discussed will reflect in those particular appointments. My name is Prince Apollo. Let's catch up again in the next edition of the Limelight. God bless you and God bless Uganda.